Will's creation of this image of the most likable man in America comes from deep feelings of inadequacy, a need to constantly be validated. Will Smith is back and he released this statement. Let's go back to March 2022. Life was so much simpler then. I, am casually watching the Oscars. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are sitting front row, and Chris Rock comes out and makes a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith being bald, and people are laughing uncomfortably. And then the next thing I know, Will Smith is on stage. In the United States, we did not see the slap, but I looked in footage from other places and they actually showed it. Slapped him. Chris Rock tried to recover. It didn't quite happen. Will Smith does eventually go on to win the Oscar, but after that, he went into hiding, girl. Like, we have not seen him for months. He resigned from the Motion Picture Arts Academy, so he can no longer vote on the Oscars. He can no longer attend the Oscars for the next decade. Okay, he is a pariah. Now he has come back with an apology video.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment. So I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. We had a great relationship. Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable. I spent the last 3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened in that moment. And I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults. After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. It's like, I made a choice on my own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris. Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. I'm going to say sorry to my kids and my family for the heat that I brought on all of us. To all my fellow nominees, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me. And it really breaks my heart to have stolen and tarnished your moment. I can still see Questlove's eyes. It happened on Questlove's award. And, it's like, I'm sorry really isn't sufficient. What would you say to the people who looked up to you before the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? So there's two things. One, disappointing people is my central trauma. I hate when I let people down. So it hurts. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me. And the work I'm trying to do is I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself, right? I'm human, and I made a mistake, and I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit So I would say to those people, I know it was confusing. I know it was shocking. But I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the world. And, you know, if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
Okay. Will Smith is not right. And when I say not right, I mean he's not well. That's not how people who are doing good look. Okay, so a couple of things. After the incident, I literally read a whole book about Will Smith and his career that one of y'all suggested to me. Super, super fascinating pop culture analysis. I read Will Smith's biography because I'm crazy. And it's very clear from both of those pieces that I read in early April that Will Smith has some deep-seated trauma around violence, domestic violence, his own masculinity, feeling inadequate that he still has not sorted through, and him becoming a super rich, successful, famous person who can get their way all the time has only compounded those childhood wounds. And that stuff comes up repeatedly if you read the book privately in his interpersonal relationships, right? Relationship with his wives, relationships with his children, relationships with his other family members, father, siblings. We just have not seen it publicly like that. But if you're as public as Will Smith, cracks form and eventually something's gonna break. And we saw at that point, the dam gave way. So the idea, so many people jumped on this thing of it's Jada, it's Jada, it's Jada. Why didn't she stop him? She should have done this. A good wife would have done this. And I'm like, Jada is his life partner. They have chosen to be together and walk through life together. But Jada cannot fix Will Smith. That stuff is old and deep, and he has to be responsible for that. So all of this discourse has just been it is just such a perfect illustration of how misogyny works that for weeks, a long time afterwards, yes, people were scandalized by what Will did and how could he, and this violence, and Amy Schumer talking about she's still so traumatized. And I'm like, what industry are y'all in? What country do you live in? Baby, we see violence every single day. But anyways, and then we have the Jada piece, it seemed like it was centered the black part of the internet because all we do is talk about gender war shit every day. That so much of that conversation was on him and how she was his downfall. When in reality, Will Smith's refusal to tend to his childhood wounds is the cause of his downfall. So many people think, and I feel this way about Wendy Williams too, because she actually said this. So many people who become rich and famous think that wealth and fame are going to fix the foundational stuff. It doesn't. It amplifies the foundational stuff. And then instead of losing a little bit because you haven't figured all of that stuff out, you lose a lot. You lose everything. Now, obviously, Will Smith hasn't lost everything. He's still, a super rich man, but you just lose more. Seems like he doesn't know how to cope with the shame. Well, Will's creation of this image of the most likable man in America, the most outgoing, personable, positive, influential, always talking like a motivational speaker, that persona comes from deep feelings of inadequacy, a need to constantly be validated. You don't create the Will Smith persona if you're okay pissing people off, if you're okay being disliked, if you're okay getting bad reviews. You craft the Will Smith persona of always smiling, happy, we can do this, guys, I work harder than everybody else, if your sense of self-worth is inextricably linked to people saying that man is doing a good job. I want to be like Will Smith. Why isn't everybody else like him? And so he did all that work for decades. For decades, building up the Will Smith picture perfect, happy family persona. And yes, there are cracks over the last couple of years because Jada has been able to come out of hiding. And she's only done that because for years, she stayed in the background so that Will could be the star and she could raise her children. So yes, we are seeing more of the background stuff, but now it's like, oh, this man is not right, you know, and the entanglement stuff and all of that. And so fast forward to July 2022, where we see him really fucking going through it. And as a layperson, as a not rich person in a 1.5 bedroom apartment, I'm like, but you still have thousands of acres of land and tens of millions, if not $100 million. And your family still loves you and your wife hasn't divorced you and you're still gonna be acting. But that man is tortured. That man ain't getting no sleep at night. No, he is not comforted by his tens of millions of dollars. But tens of millions of dollars can't do that work. It's insane to me how people turn so quickly on one of, if not the most squeaky clean men in the public eye. Yeah, there's no grace. Especially when white men in Hollywood have been doing fucked up shit for years and they still get to attend the Oscars. Oh, yeah. I mean, we can go to the Casey Affleck example where he won the Oscar after having these allegations of sexual misconduct. Like, that's the latest one. Or Ben Affleck, who has all sorts of stuff, you know, swirling around him. Like, so many of these people, not just the men, have all kinds of allegations and inappropriate behavior and have said, Mel Gibson, my God, Mel Gibson still gets invited to these award shows and gets nominated after he has said incredibly racist things, anti-Black things, anti-Semitic things repeatedly, after he has threatened his former partners, not blackballed, not banned for 10 years. Poor Will, this is my hot take. I love men who are a little in touch with their feelings, even if they're still lost. I mean, yeah, I think it's good that he cannot run away from those feelings. Will Smith's biography made it clear that something like this could happen, always feeling the need to defend women to make up for his failure with preventing his dad from beating his mom. I mean, he literally says it in the book that he always felt enormous shame and embarrassment because as a child, when his father would get physical with his mother, he was not able to protect her. I mean, literally, he says that in the book. But yeah, we're all pretending like, oh my God, how did this happen? And Jada, why? It's like, no, he said it. Wasn't he cognizant of the danger of cancel culture and that he was dangling his reputation by daring to get up at such an event and slap the man on stage? I mean, it seems pretty clear from what he has said. And I mean, if you're watching, that he wasn't in logical thinking mode. He was in fight or flight trauma response mode. So no, he obviously wasn't thinking about the consequences when he was triggered by the feeling that he needs to protect his wife the way he should have been able to protect his mother. And he did that persona for 30 years. It's tough to maintain respectability politics for that long without cracking. It is. And, you know, really, he would still be doing it if not for Willow and Jaden. They would still be doing the picture perfect respectability performance if the kids had not rebelled. Shout out to the kids. No apology from Chris for what he said to Jada, though. No. I know somebody who went to the big Kevin Hart, like Chris Rock show at Madison Square Garden, and they told me that Chris Rock is making jokes about it now. So Will's continuous public shaming is an extension of the misogyny towards Jada. People want to punish her, so they're piling on regardless of his 30-year squeaky clean persona. I really feel like white people who were deeply invested in what Will Smith represented, the unproblematic, not angry, you know, docile, jovial Black man, family man, hardworking, like that thing, that ideal that he represented, him so aggressively and intentionally eschewing that ideal, you know, breaking that fiction, breaking that fantasy. I actually feel like that for the white folks is the cause of all of this Sturm und Drang, all of this upset, this angst. Because it's like, if not Will, then who? I went to a show where Jay Farrow made jokes about it and said Jada now looks just like Tupac. Chris further emboldened men to exercise the misogynoir they've always felt. Totally. And there's also this comedy thing. So it's people are already feeling these feelings toward Jada, but comedians in particular, and like Black comedians, it's like, you know, I don't want to say it's like the police, right? Because it's not like the police, but like there is like, you know, the fraternal order of comedians or whatever, where that's such a crazy exaggeration. I'm problematic, but they're banding together and backing up Chris in order, even if they have these really negative feelings toward Jada and they just want to be able to proudly express their misogynoir, there's also a thing of defending the right to say really fucked up shit and experience no consequence. So it's like this stuff that we see happening is operating on so many different levels.